I'm Nayantara Rai, joining you from Toronto in Canada, where the Indian government is on road shows wooing foreign investors. We're now joined by the Secretary from the Department of Economic Affairs, Mr. Shaktikantha Das. Thank you, Mr. Das, for joining us here in Toronto on ET Now. You've been meeting the who's who when it comes to the Canadian investors. For example, you met with the Canadian Pension Plan Investment Board. How have the meetings been progressing?
See, last evening, we had a meeting with CEOs of certain companies, and today morning, we had a very detailed meeting with Canadian Pension Plan Investment Board, and also few other superannuation and pension funds, some banks and other financial institutions. The meeting was mainly focused on the investment opportunities in India, especially in the infrastructure sector. So naturally, in that context, the NIIF as an investment vehicle, as an opportunity for investment, that came up for considerable amount of discussion. So from our side, we explained about the structure of the NIIF, and incidentally, this is not the first meeting we are having with the Canadian pension. We have had earlier discussions, but at the level of the finance minister, it was very important to have this meeting with the top leadership of the Canadian pension plan. So we explained them the broad structure of the NIIF, what exactly is planned, how we are going about it, and what are the specific investment opportunities that are available. There was a lot of interest. In fact, let me mention that there was a lot of interest from the Canadian pension plan and the other superannuation and pension funds who were present during the discussion, and they were very keen to know about the macroeconomic scenario in India, the structural reforms, the way ahead, and everybody was very appreciative of the reforms which Government of India has been undertaking over the last 2.5 years, and a lot of interest about NIIF and the investment opportunities. Various models of their participation in the NIIF, they were also discussed.
So when you say various models, would it be in the different kind of funds? For example, you're looking at NIIF, which could be with energy, with stress funds, with infrastructure. Is that what you mean?
That's right. We have at the moment, as you know, we have an umbrella fund concept, which is the NIIF. Then we are also looking at a clean energy fund. We are also looking at a road fund. So we are looking broadly at these are two major sectors. Now the opportunities in few other sectors also in the infrastructure sector, they were discussed. So now the next step would be that these discussions will be continued and taken to their logical conclusion.
So is it too soon to talk about if you're going to see an MOU, when you're going to sign on the dotted line, when the investments are going to flow in?
No, there will not be an MOU as such, because there is great amount of interest in the Canadian side, and in any case they are already, they have an interest to invest in the NIIF. So we are really not looking at an MOU, but we are looking at structuring certain project opportunities in association with the Canadian pension plan, because they have also ideas. They're already, incidentally, they have a presence in India. They have been investing in several private sector companies. They have invested in the Kotak Bank. They have invested with the Piramals, with Saporji, with L&T. So they have a good presence already in India, and they have an office in Mumbai. But now today's discussion was with their top leadership. So therefore, these discussions will be continued, and we are now looking at a situation where they should be really coming in with their investment.
By when do you think we're going to see the first NIIF fully set up and also investing?
You see, the NIIF, as I had explained earlier, it did take some time to really to be structured. We have registered it as an alternative investment fund category 2. And we have also registered a investment company. We have also registered the trust company, and then the chief executive has been, he has been also selected, and he is already, so in discussion with us, and he did participate in today's meeting also. And we have assembled a small team of executives to work in the NIIF to begin with. So time frame I would not like to mention, but I think we are looking at this happening very soon. So far as the Canadians are concerned, I think it should be anywhere between 3 to 6 months, because we have to really discuss and take it, concretize the project opportunities. But our discussions with the other funds, with the Qatar Investment Authority, with ADIA, that is Abu Dhabi Investment Authority, with which we have signed the MOUs, that has made a good amount of progress. I would expect those investments to happen a little earlier.
And can you, so before 3 to 6 months, you're saying we could see?
I would think so.
How soon?
I would not like to mention a date.
And has Qatar and ADIA told you whether there's going to be clean energy or roads? Can you share that?
No, they're looking at both.
And the Canadians?
Canadians are now looking at the entire spectrum. They're looking at the entire spectrum.
So they're looking at the umbrella fund, would be correct?
Also.
Okay. So who else are you going to be meeting in this trip? The more marquee names?
You see, we have the finance minister also has meetings with his counterpart from Canada, the Canadian finance minister. And thereafter today again we have a meeting with the trade minister of Canada. Both these ministers are in fact flying down from Ottawa to have these meetings with with our finance minister. So which would demonstrate the kind of seriousness that exists in the Canadian side, because two ministers are flying down to Toronto exclusively for these meetings. Then tomorrow we have one-to-one meetings with some CEOs of certain companies, and we also have a roundtable with certain CEOs again tomorrow. So that's how it is shaping up at the moment. And I must mention that in the CEOs meeting we had yesterday, a great amount of interest about India, about specific investment opportunities and where all they can invest. Because you see, there is a lot of money available. The Canadian pension plan, it's one of the top 10 pension funds in the world, and they would naturally like to get good returns for their investors, for the people who have invested their money to get the pension returns. So they are looking at good returns. So India definitely at the moment with 7.5% growth and growth prospects looking brighter compared to most of the other economies, I think they have a lot of interest in India.
So while this government has liberalized a lot of laws, especially for insurance and pension, have any of these companies asked you to look at further liberalization? Have they come back to you saying that this could help them invest more in India?
No, not specifically, but there were questions about, the labor reforms. There were questions about the land laws, and it has been explained to them that number of steps have been taken. And with regard to land, we explained that the amendments are already been done by the various state governments, and it was also made very clear that no project in India, whether it's for a manufacturing sector project or for an infrastructure sector project, no project has really suffered for want of land. And there is this healthy competition between the states, and every state wants to offer land. And the model which now states are also adopting, some states like Andhra Pradesh, they are adopting of pulling together the land from the landowners, from the farmers, and after development giving a certain portion back to the farmer to benefit out of the the upside of the land values. That also was explained to them. Labor reforms, the government has been taking many steps. In fact, recently in the context of the textile policy which government came out with, the textile, particularly for garment sector, the kind of changes which are being brought about in the labor segment, that was also explained to them. So on the whole, they're not, I would not say they're prescriptive about their desire for any reforms, but they just want to be informed more about the thinking of government as to how the government looks to the next few years.
So after walking away from, example, today's meeting with CPPIB, did you get any idea of the kind of money that they're going to invest?
No, I would not like to mention that. We explained to them that we are looking at government keeping on the table. That was what was announced earlier also. We are looking at 40,000 crores. So roughly about, let's say, $6 billion US dollars. And the government of India will be keeping on the table $3 billion US dollars. And we are looking at investments of another $3 billion to begin with. And then, of course, as once it takes off, then we will have more investments.
So
coming.
CPPIB is also supposed to be in conversation with the State Bank of India for setting up a fund for stressed assets. Was that discussed at all?
No, we did not discuss that.
Okay, so that didn't come up. I'm also talking to you on the eve of the first monetary policy of Mr. Urjit Patel and also of the newly constituted committee. I'm going to put it very crudely, sir. Is there a case for a rate cut?
You see, it will not be appropriate on my part to say that there is a case for rate cut. There is no case for rate cut. But having said that, let me mention that inflation has considerably moderated. The targeted inflation is 4% plus minus 2. We are at 5%. And it had gone up to about 6%, as you know, a couple of months ago. Now it has again come down to 5%. As they say, there is, the interest rates and the rate of inflation, there is a linkage. There is a linkage. So when the inflation is down at 5% and the outlook is that the inflation will perhaps moderate further in the coming months, now let's wait for what RBI does.
So because isn't it RBI also on track for its own inflation targets?
RBI is on its track, but then the target is 4% and plus minus 2. It's very much within the range. And it will not be, again, let me mention, it will not be correct on my part to say that there is a case. But having said that, I'm just repeating myself that inflation has come down. Inflation and interest rates are linked. So let us see what RBI does. And there is a committee now. It's a multi-member committee. That's the first time there is a monetary policy committee which is going to meet with 3 outside experts. So let's hope.
So between the lines, what you're saying is inflation is down, it's on track for its own target. So there should be a rate cut.
No, I'm not saying anything between the lines. Let's wait. I think it'll be just a few more hours. Let's wait for that.
And Mr. Patel is also a part of a very important committee, the FRBM committee, which is being headed by Mr. N.K. Singh. When that committee was set up, he was the deputy governor. Is he going to continue to be part of that committee as the RBI governor?
Yeah, he is continuing to be a part of that committee. And let me also clarify that all the members of the committee, FRBM committee, were chosen and they were selected because of that individual knowledge, experience and expertise in this particular field. Now, they were not selected because they held certain positions. So therefore, Dr. Urjit Patel was also selected in his individual capacity because of his experience and expertise in this particular area. So therefore, it is in his individual capacity. We have requested him to continue in the committee, and he is a part of the committee. The committee's deliberations are in very advanced stage, and we are expecting them to give the report to government on 31st October.
So my final question to you, since we were talking about FRBM, before you came to Toronto, there was that press conference where it was announced that 65,000 crore rupees of illegal wealth has been declared by 64,000 declarants. It's going to be paid that 45% tax over 2 years, but suddenly that's almost 15,000 crore rupees for this fiscal. That does a lot for the fiscal deficit target.
You see, fiscal deficit target, definitely it will add to the fiscal, it will add to the resources of the government. And this year we are going to get, out of the 30,000 crore or so, this year we'll get 50% of it will come in before FY, during FY 17. That's before 31st March 17. And the rest,
15,000
yeah, that's about 15,000 crore will come this year. So definitely it adds to our resources, but we are quite confident of achieving the disinvestment targets. And I must also mention that out of the disinvestment target, about 20,000 crores, 21,000 crores has already been, decided, and the money is coming in, and they will, most of it has already come in.
This is buybacks, just to be clear.
This is buyback, but part of the overall banner, part of the overall disinvestment target. The rest, there is already a robust pipeline, and we are quite confident that disinvestment target will be achieved in the current year. Telecom spectrum, the spectrum auctions are going on. It's a continuing process. Let us see how much of it comes. Tax revenues, the collections are on expected lines, and we would expect the tax, the resource side, I think we are expecting ourselves financials to be well on track as per the budgeted numbers. And on the expenditure side, in the first supplementary, about 22,000 crores cash supplementary has been allowed. But then in a budget of about 19 lakh crores, you have always automatic natural savings of that much amount which takes place. So as it stands today, we are well on track to achieve the fiscal deficit of 3.5%.
But sir, just a quick one on disinvestment. You're in October, very soon will be Thanksgiving, Christmas, New Year's. That's really not the time you really see disinvestment take place because foreign investors, if I may say so, are holidaying. So are you still confident given all of that, or could we see all of it maybe taking place in the last quarter?
No, not in the last quarter. They will all follow one after the other. And, these days, I think international investors have their own mechanism. Nobody shuts down after the 2008 crisis. Nobody shuts down for the Christmas or for the New Year or for Thanksgiving. I think they have their teams working all the time. And Department of Disinvestment has already been, they are already in touch with the various investors directly and also through the merchant bankers. So that things like this will not really come in the way of disinvestment.
Shaktikantha Das, thank you so much for joining us in ET Now. Hope you'll be back with us tomorrow after the monetary policy is unveiled. Thank you, sir.
And don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter @ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.